working with Jonathan was well worth the cost of the coaching. And I mean, I made my money back before I'd actually even set up the podcast, just because he gave me some pointers on some other things that I didn't even ask for. And they proved to be quite profitable.
This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Hi, Carl here from the Podcast Factory, and today I'm with Julian Northbrook from the Doing English podcast, discussing his coaching experience with Jonathan Rivera. Julian, what were the obstacles that would have kept you from getting podcast coaching from Jonathan?
The obstacle that would have kept me from getting the coaching, to be honest, there wasn't really much obstacle. I was already sold on doing the podcast, and I just needed somebody to basically break the process down for me and show me what to do. Time, I guess, would have been the only thing. If the opportunity had come up a little bit later than it did, I probably would have had to give it a miss, but as it did, the timing worked out, so.
And what did you find as a result of working with Jonathan?
I found that setting up a podcast is a lot more work, but a lot simpler than I expected. I would say the main thing would be, I guess, just how much difference it makes working with somebody who's a professional in a certain area compared to just doing it by yourself. I was sold on the idea of doing a podcast, but it's just such a big thing. I really needed somebody who could break the process down and just tell me what to do a bit at a time. That really was the main thing. Just having someone there to just tell me what to do. Working with Jonathan was exactly how I expected it to be, in that I knew he knew what he was doing, and that I knew if I just did what he said, it would work out really well, and it did.
Was there any particular feature you liked most about working with Jonathan?
Simply having somebody there who I could send questions to as they came up. So I guess the Facebook group would be the feature. But there were several times when I was working on the content each week, setting things up, and you run into these questions, you get stuck on something and you're not sure, should I do it like this or should I do it like that? And I think it's really easy to get bogged down with that and just, you end up procrastinating because you're not too sure where to go with it. But having the Facebook group there and being able to just post the question, what do you think? And then know that I'd actually get an answer to that in a fairly timely fashion. I would say that was probably the thing that really made the difference for me. So yeah, the Facebook group, I'd say.
Thanks, Julian. Could you mention some other benefits you found about working with Jonathan?
Well, I guess this is kind of linked to what I said before, but simply, I guess, his generosity with his time. Like I said, having someone there to ask questions to. But when I joined the coaching program, he actually took the time to get on Skype with me and talk me through several problems that I've been having. And that wasn't something that I was expecting. It wasn't like an advertised part of the course or anything like that. And actually, he gave me quite a few ideas that probably would have made the cost of joining the coaching worth it in itself. Just that kind of conversation we had on Skype was enough that I kind of made my money back, as it were. Money wasn't really an obstacle with joining anyway, but that was definitely a benefit. And also, I guess, going back to the kind of the group, being able to see what other people are doing and the podcasts that other people have been setting up. There weren't that many people in the group, but it was good to see what other people were doing and the problems that they were having as well. That was definitely a benefit.
Julian, would you recommend Jonathan's coaching service? And if so, why?
Yes, I would absolutely recommend his coaching to somebody who is serious about setting up a podcast. I'd say it would have to be somebody who is prepared to put in the time and the work, though, because it certainly wasn't an easy thing to do. Why would I recommend him? Would be simply because, I mean, he knows what he's doing, and I think that's really clear. There was never a question that I had that wasn't answered in a way that, proved to be exactly what I needed to do, if that makes sense.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I guess I've already said it, but I mean, just the additional help that he gave me with things was well worth the cost of the coaching. And I mean, I made my money back before I'd actually even set up the podcast, just because he gave me some pointers on some other things that I didn't even ask for, and they proved to be quite profitable. So yeah, that's really is the main thing. It's just having someone there who is willing to give their time.
Well, thank you, Julian, for taking the time to be with me today. For more information about Julian and his podcast, you can catch him at thedoingenglish.com.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.